The Reaper, one of the most enjoyable melee roles within PvP, while also being the most difficult to master. In 6.1, the new Reaper PvP build would allow for some insane burst damage. The only requirement to utilize their full potential is stacks of Immortal Sacrifice, a core feature to the Reaper in PvP. Jumping ahead to the Reaper in patch 6.4, the Reaper has received several potency buffs, giving more reasons to play the role. And without further ado, let's dive right into the Reaper in patch 6.4. What has truly elevated the role is the addition of the guillotine, which has replaced both the gibbet and the gallows. So why is the guillotine a highly welcome change to the Reaper? To begin, it adds some much needed area of effect. Yes, you have the Plentiful Harvest, but this ability has a 60-second cooldown and is to be saved as part of your burst rotation. You also have Death Warrant, which becomes the Harvest Moon. However, again, the Death Warrant is the setup to your burst rotation. This left you with Grim Swath as your area of effect attack that could be used more often, outside of your burst rotation. All who are struck are afflicted with heavy. In most cases, you are left to follow this up with single target damage. Now, Grim Swath can be instantly followed up by the Guillotine, a cone-shaped area of effect with a generous hitbox. This change alone has improved the Reaper's ability to engage, to more often be the battle initiator. Even better still, this new Grim Swath Guillotine AoE combo has played a huge role into your core mechanic, obtaining stacks of Immortal Sacrifice. You can hold up to 8 stacks, and is the requirement to boosting the damage of your Plentiful Harvest, which ranges from 4,000 up to 24,000. When a fight breaks out, you can quickly gain 2 stacks by using both charges of your Soul Slice. Outside of this ability, the only other way to obtain sacrifice is through kills and assists. In my testing playing frontline, quite often I can use a full 8-stack Plentiful Harvest, follow up into a group with Grim Swath Guillotine, and within a blink of an eye, be back on 8 stacks of sacrifice. I talked about in the past how the Reaper is very reliant on the team. If your group is passive, the Reaper struggles, unable to get the stacks he needs, but in those truly aggressive groups, the Reaper is free to show off. While the Reaper does not have access to a burst rotation that can be used as often as other roles, they, however, have by far the most powerful. With your Limit Break ready and a full 8 stacks of Immortal Sacrifice, you can deal just short of 100,000 damage to a single target, with a large chunk of AoE damage to all those around him. For this burst, you begin by activating your Limit Break, not so much for the Hysteria effect, but to gain access to Communio. Pop your Arcane Crest for that extra damage. This is when you hit your target with Death Warrant, followed up by Communio. Straight into a Plentiful Harvest, into the Grim Swath Guillotine combo, followed instantly by Harvest Moon, as your target will be lower than the 50% HP requirement. Done correctly, your Death Warrant should pop right after, dealing 50% of the compiled damage you just did, for a huge 33,000 damage. That single burst from Warrant is a limit break in of itself, and you don't need to follow this burst rotation 100%. In Crystalline, I find 4 to 5 stacks is more than enough, allowing me to do the combo more often, while still doing a good 24,000 onwards with Warrant. How you combo for Warrant will depend largely on the situation. No matter the situation, be sure to pop Arcane Crest and Death Warrant beforehand to get the most out of your current situation. The Reaper has some amazing limit break combo potential, and as a Reaper, your first 2 roles of choice are the Dark Knights and the Dragoons. The Hysteria setup is perfect to let them shine. They can equally set up big plays for you. Players highly underestimate the value a Reaper brings. Remember, you have one of the fastest limit gauge charges. Do not be afraid to limit break often, to open the advantage for your team. Other amazing combo choices are the Gunbreaker, Scholar, and the Summoners. A Gunbreaker will lower enemies' damage and increase how much damage they take. Shutting down guards and CC with Hysteria greatly helps land a full blow. Scholars benefit amazingly from Hysteria, opening up the chance to weaken players' healing by 25% and spread poison, and forcing players to lose control, while a Summoner drops Bahamut can easily turn a fight. Get creative, as a Reaper's combo potential is unrivaled. The Reaper was the best pick to counter the Samurai, especially in Crystalline Conflict, as their one-shot completely flips a match. With some testing, it appears you are no longer able to counter the Samurai's limit break after activation. Before, timing your limit break early would force them to use their limit break charge without landing the attack. As you can see here in the testing, the Hysteria goes through, taking effect, forcing them to walk away, but is instantly cancelled by the Zantetsuken. You can still shut down the Samurai's limit break. Instead of aiming for when they pop their ultimate, you now want to aim for their Chi-10, with 2 to 3 seconds remaining, or when you see Kazushi, strike either yourself or party members. That way you can still force a Samurai to miss their one-shot window. If you as a Reaper can learn to track and shut down a Samurai in Crystalline Conflict, you will have a much easier time climbing, because let's face it, randoms just love attacking into a Samurai's Chi-10. You can be the secret savior without your team knowing it. The Reaper is the best melee role for dueling. You have 2 advantages over every other melee role. Your Arcane Crest not only shields you, but if broken, will slowly regain your health. Against less experienced players, you would typically win the duel faster. Against players of equal skill, this allows you to effectively stalemate. This plays into the Reaper's secret ability. The longer you duel a Reaper, the more of an advantage you give them. You will slowly build your immortal stacks for your huge burst rotation. Many other good players understand dueling a Reaper is difficult, and often flee or simply leave you to your own devices. Do not be afraid to take duels, as you will improve over time, and comes up fairly often in Crystalline Conflict. If you are in fact the player attempting to duel against a Reaper, it is very important to not feed into their Arcane Crest. Don't use your strongest skills into it, and don't break it. Wait Arcane Crest out, pop guard if you must, use defensive abilities, and even pretend to flee. Once the Arcane Crest time is over, you can go full aggro and hit them as hard as you can, burning through their MP, allowing little time to fight back against you. Aim to also keep your HP high, as a Reaper will gain their limit break before you, and we are not afraid to solo limit break you. As it currently stands, the Reaper is in the best state it has ever been for PvP, and is one of the most enjoyable roles to play within Crystalline Conflict. It brings so much to teamfights. However, recently, Frontline received big changes. Between resistance changes, quality of life, crowd control nerfs, and new balance changes, the intent was to address the overwhelming amount of tank players. This at the same time has made it harder for melee jobs, and what is hurting the Reaper most is the amount of crowd control spam from range jobs, which have become the dominant role this season. And the recent buff to Scholars, the continuous amount of damage over time, and having your healing reduced, hits the Reaper very hard. I expect within the next 2 patches to see range jobs' effectiveness be brought back down, and possibly further future updates to crowd control. Playing as a group, the Reaper can still get away with a lot, but the solo experience and to new players, this season of Frontline, as it currently is, can be rather difficult. I would not suggest playing large amounts of Reaper in Frontline until the next balance change comes in, but until then, I can highly recommend playing Reaper in Crystalline Conflict. I hope you all enjoyed today's video, taking a look into the Reaper in patch 6.4. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you all in the next one.